Hello, this is Franklin Graham, and I just want to say thank you for your generous support and prayers as we take the gospel of Jesus Christ around the world.
From the outside, the story of Franklin Graham looked like a legacy carved in stone passed from the most beloved preacher in America to the son meant to uphold it. But legacies don't stay perfect. They bend, they crack, and sometimes they collapse from the inside. Today, rumors are swirling, investigations are tightening, and even those closest to him are preparing for the worst. Something is happening behind the scenes, something big. And if the whispers are true, things aren't just shaky for Pastor Franklin Graham, they may be unraveling faster than anyone expected. Born on July 14, 1952, in the rugged quiet of the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, Franklin Graham entered a world already heavy with expectation. He was the fourth of 5 children born to Billy Graham and Ruth Bell Graham, a couple whose life would shape global Christianity. Their home was a log cabin crafted from abandoned timber, planted on 200 acres of mountain land with apple orchards and natural springs. It looked peaceful, like a postcard, but inside, the pressure was immense. Because Franklin's father wasn't just a preacher, he was the preacher. By the time Franklin turned 2, Billy Graham had already launched the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, traveling the world with stadium-sized crusades that changed history. In London, the crusade lasted 12 straight weeks. In New York, the legendary Madison Square Garden crusade ran 16 weeks. In Moscow, crowds of 155,000 gathered, with as many as a quarter walking forward during altar calls. It was breathtaking, it was historic, and it meant Franklin barely saw his father. His mother, Ruth Bell Graham, had a story of her own. Born in China, raised near Shanghai in a missionary hospital compound where gunfire from Civil War echoed at night, she carried that strength into her marriage. While Billy circled the globe, Ruth raised 5 children alone, oversaw the construction of their mountain home, managed money, bought land, and kept the family safe when the FBI warned of threats. When tourists began showing up at their front door to glimpse the famous family, Ruth moved them to a new property called Little Piney Cove, a secluded sanctuary surrounded by fences and warning signs. Inside that private world, Franklin grew up under strict rules: no television, no dancing, morning prayers, discipline, and expectations that felt impossible to meet. Being Billy Graham's son wasn't a privilege, it was a shadow he couldn't outrun. By 11, he was shipped off to the Stony Brook School in New York, a strict Christian academy he hated with every part of him. He begged to come home. He felt suffocated, and rebellion started to take root. By 13, Franklin was experimenting with alcohol. At 15, he was taking cars without permission. One story claims he crashed into a tree and broke his jaw. Whether true or not, everyone agrees Franklin chased danger like it was a calling of its own. At 16, he moved to Texas, joined a rock band, wore his hair long, and embraced everything his family forbade. At 17, he left the country altogether, wandering through Israel, then across Europe, hitchhiking, sleeping in hostels, working odd jobs. For the first time, he wasn't Billy Graham's son. He was just Franklin. Surprisingly, that freedom didn't push him further from faith, it softened him. His mother didn't attack him with sermons. She used stories of doubt, struggle, and purpose. Slowly, Franklin's heart began to shift, but the process was messy. Scandal followed him like a shadow, returning home defeated. He enrolled at Montreat Anderson College, where he finally completed his associate degree. Around that time, he reconnected with Jane Austen Cunningham, a girl from Boone he had known for years. She loved the outdoors, loved Jesus, and saw something in Franklin that he wasn't ready to see in himself. She became the quiet anchor to a man who still wasn't sure who he wanted to be. On his 22nd birthday in Switzerland, walking beside Lake Geneva, Billy confronted him. "You can't sit on the fence forever." Franklin didn't like ultimatums, but he couldn't forget it. A short time later, in a hotel room in Jerusalem, he opened a Bible, read Romans 8:1, and surrendered his life. He stubbed out his cigarette, knelt, and prayed for God to take what was left of him. It was the turning point of his life. A month later, on August 14, 1974, he married Jane in a ceremony officiated by his father. The rebel was gone. A new chapter had begun. But that new chapter did not lead him back into his father's shadow, it led him into the broken parts of the world. He met Bob Pierce, founder of World Vision and Samaritan's Purse, and traveled with him to Asia, In Bangladesh, he drove trucks through floodwaters so high they pushed against the windows. He watched children fight over spilled grains of rice like diamonds. He saw starvation, real starvation, and it changed him forever. When he came home, he didn't ask permission. He took action. From his basement, he called 800 churches. He preached at up to 12 services on Sundays. He raised more money than Samaritan's Purse had seen in years. What followed was a life lived on the edge of danger. In Lebanon, during the Civil War, a sniper's bullet smashed through a vehicle window inches from Franklin's head. In Poland, under martial law, he bribed guards to access children in need. In Moscow, he ran logistics for crusades under the eyes of the KGB. In Australia, over 150,000 people heard him preach during his first solo crusade. He didn't preach like Billy. He preached with fire, sharp edges, and aggression. And it worked. But Franklin Graham was not afraid of controversy, and controversy always found him. In the 1980s, he aligned himself with the Nicaraguan Contras, a move that shocked many supporters. In the 1990s, he produced the film The Choice, which reached more than 20 million viewers, transforming evangelism into a cinematic experience. When his father became too ill to travel, Franklin stepped up, preaching at massive festivals and appearing on global platforms. But then the storms began. In 2001, he criticized Islam on national television, calling it wicked. The backlash was immediate. Death threats, FBI involvement, canceled tours. But Franklin did not back down. In 2012, he poured millions into supporting North Carolina's Amendment 1, a same-sex marriage ban later overturned in court. Younger evangelicals drifted away. Donations slipped. Still, Samaritan's Purse grew bigger than ever. After the Rwanda genocide, Franklin's team built clinics, fed refugees, and delivered emergency aid. During Hurricane Katrina, they served tens of thousands of evacuees. When Ebola struck West Africa, they deployed 100 workers and poured $50 million into relief efforts. During COVID-19, he established a field hospital in Central Park, in Ukraine. He flew into war zones after the 2022 invasion, delivering hundreds of tons of supplies and helping millions. Meanwhile, political battles intensified. Franklin supported Donald Trump, prayed at his inauguration, and became one of his most loyal spiritual allies. He defended Trump during scandals, angered moderates, and deepened the divide within evangelical Christianity. After the Parkland school shooting, he blamed the devil instead of guns, sparking nationwide criticism. His comments about Vladimir Putin's domestic policies raised eyebrows as Samaritan's Purse worked to help Ukrainian victims of Russia's aggression. The tension grew. Donations rose, then fell. Supporters cheered, then questioned. And beneath it all, Franklin's health began declining. Heart procedures, knee surgery, age catching up to the man who had spent decades racing into disaster zones. Then came the moment that shook the evangelical world. In October 2025, Franklin Graham withdrew both the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Samaritan's Purse from the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability, the very institution his father helped create. The ECFA demanded stricter oversight. Franklin refused. With more than $1.6 billion under his control, the move sent shockwaves through churches, donors, and Christian leaders across the globe. At the same time, he launched aircraft into Gaza, delivering food and solar lights during the conflict, one of the most dangerous operations Samaritan's Purse had ever attempted. Critics questioned the timing. Supporters praised the bravery. Franklin pushed forward, preparing for a massive 2026 festival in Manchester, determined to finish his public career on his own terms. At 73, recovering at his mountain home in Montreat, Franklin has begun passing responsibilities to his son, Will Graham, who has preached across 6 continents and reached more than 1 million people. The next generation stands ready, but the question remains, what will the legacy be? Will Franklin Graham, the rebel who became a preacher, the preacher who became a humanitarian, the humanitarian who became a political warrior, be remembered as the man who carried Billy Graham's legacy into a new century? Whether history remembers Franklin Graham as a builder or a breaker, one thing is certain: his final chapters are unfolding right now, and the world is watching. His legacy, his influence, and the future of the Graham name all hang in the balance. If you want to follow this story as it develops, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more powerful deep dives, and share it with someone who remembers the name Graham. The truth is only just beginning to surface. Thanks for watching.